When it comes to predicting Bitcoin's long-term price prediction, or at least going into 2024 to the end of that year, one thing is guaranteed. There will be a Bitcoin halving, or halvening, depends what you want to call it. Every 4 years, Bitcoin goes through a halvening, and in a moment, I'm going to explain in more detail what that is and what it means. If you look at this chart in front of us here, we can actually see the previous Bitcoin halvings. Now, it's estimated that coming into April 2024, we will see Bitcoin's next halving. So I'm going to show you exactly where I predict the price to be when that halving happens, and beyond, going to the end of 2024. There's a lot of similarities between previous cycles, and I'm going to show you exactly what those are, how to prepare for them. Guys, there will be chapters down below. Feel free to rewatch, skip ahead, watch back, hit the like button, share this if you find value, and let's get straight into it. Now, at the time of recording, it's about 50,000 blocks until the next halving. That's blocks mined. Now, what is the Bitcoin halving? What am I talking about, and why is this important? So, new Bitcoins are issued by the Bitcoin network every 10 minutes. For the first 4 years of Bitcoin, the amount of new Bitcoins every 10 minutes was 50. So every 4 years, this number is in fact cut in half, hence the halving or halvening. So in 2012, which was the next halving, the amount of new Bitcoins issued every 10 minutes dropped from 50 to 25. In 2016, it dropped from 25 to 12.5. And in its most recent halving, which was May 2011, the Bitcoin halving dropped from 12.5 Bitcoin every block right down to 6.25, and come a year from now, we're going to see that reduced again by half, from 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes down to 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And you're probably wondering at this stage, why does that even matter? So the significance of this, it's simple economics really. It's supply and demand. The Bitcoin supply gets cut in half every 4 years. The demand has not only remained constant, but the demand for Bitcoin is increasing. We know there's more user wallets than there ever has been. The Bitcoin hash rate, which monitors the security of the Bitcoin network, is at an all-time high despite the bear market prices coming down. And we know that due to the economy that we're in, the printing of money, inflation, we know that Bitcoin's usability, adaptability is only growing where supply is going down. And this is why the Bitcoin price should continue its long-term price prediction to the moon. So on to the Bitcoin halving chart. Let's really get into the nitty-gritty of it, what to expect for 2024. So yes, we know every 4 years we have a halving cycle. The first thing I can really gauge from this chart is the interesting point of where we're likely now. And where we're likely now is about 2/3 between cycles. Now you can see in the previous 2 cycles where we were about 2/3 of the way through, or for better, more accurate reading, you can see about 550 days away from the halving, which again, at the time of recording, we're approximately there. We're actually more nearer 400 days, but the bottom was about 500 days. The importance of that is, what this chart tells us is that every previous cycle, when we were about 500 days away to the next halving, the Bitcoin price bottomed out. You can see it here, about 500 days. You can see it here, about 500 days. And you can see it here, also about 500 days. So the Bitcoin bottom, according to this chart, or at least those technicals and that theory, is in. But does that mean to say that we can't still go lower from the current traded price? And at time of recording, we're at $29,250 Bitcoin. Well, where we are now, I think, is most similar to approximately around May 2019. We had the call off of the bull market top to the bear market bottom. It's about an 83% correction. And from that top to the bottom, we had similar, well, about 77% correction. And as Bitcoin's price is getting bigger, the percentages have some room to be slightly less. Now, with regard to where I believe we are, is somewhere around where we were May 2019. You can see this by looking at the weekly chart and also basically by looking at the RSI here on the weekly. Look how similar the levels are in terms of just coming up above the RSI moving average and being on the same sort of 50% RSI. So I believe the Bitcoin price trading now at 30,000 is the same as Bitcoin trading in May 2019 at about 6,000. And what followed that was Bitcoin trading between 6,000 and about 12,000 for the best part of about a year, about 13-14 months, taking us to the Bitcoin halving cycle. And as you know, we did bottom out 500 odd days before, and we may have bottomed out. But although we rallied from the bottom to the top at this point here, 350%, and that's to say from this bottom to the top could be somewhere in that kind of ballpark, but allowing for Bitcoin's growth in price. So maybe it comes up to around 38, 39,000. And by the way, about $40,000 Bitcoin is my max Bitcoin price target before we get to the Bitcoin halving, which I said is about April 2024. I do believe that the Bitcoin price could come down again for a retest, but that brings me on to where do I think the Bitcoin price will be around the halving and of course by the end of 2024. So what I've brought into this chart now is our log chart. This is going to help us show exactly what's likely to happen in terms of support, resistance, and going into the next cycle here. I'm also going to bring in the 200-week moving average. And by the way, this dark blue symbolizes buy. If you go back previously to any other periods where it's dark blue, it's been a buy. And in order to understand where we're likely to be around the halving time, I think it's fair to say we're going to be somewhere around where we're trading now. If we are based somewhere around and similar to April 2019, yes, we might still see a pump in the price. And I am actually expecting the Bitcoin price to get to about $40,000 before it potentially comes back down for a retest somewhere to the bottom of this log chart, which would be somewhere around 20,000. I really can't see that 15,000 bottom being broken now. I do believe the bottom is in. There is a chance we could come down for a double bottom situation, but if you look at the support of the log chart, it would be really difficult to break that, especially if the Federal Reserve do start at least pausing the interest rate hikes, which is likely. And I know this is a bit of a fundamental aspect, not bringing into fact the halving or the technicals, but that will play a big part as well. If interest rates start getting lowered, which I believe they will in the next 6 to 9 months, it will give a strong tailwind to Bitcoin. So it looks to me that come to the Bitcoin halving, we're going to do something like a slow grind up, or basically trade around the kind of price will be on the next peak, which I estimate about 40,000. I believe we're going to be somewhere in the region of $25,000 to $40,000 Bitcoin by the next halving cycle. Yes, I know, not too exciting. Let's talk about what is likely to happen by the end of 2024. Right, so the Bitcoin halving is due to take place in April, right? Which is 8 months away from the end of 2024. So what we can do here, we can look at previous halvings and we can look what the price was in terms of percentage 8 months away from the halving, which is approximately 240 days. So in this case, going back to here, we saw a 700% increase. But of course, that was the first halving. So if we do it from the second halving and we look about 240 days, we were up about 118%, which is more conservative, of course. In the last halving, however, from that point to 240 days, we actually went up again 161%. So I think it's safe to assume you're going to expect at least 120% from the Bitcoin halving price, which we agreed is going to be somewhere between 25 and 40,000. So I'm going to base it quite fairly, I think, on the Bitcoin price being around conservative 30. And if you do a price increase of about 122%, I believe we're going to be somewhere around the all-time previous price of Bitcoin at the end of 2024, which of course is around $69,000-$70,000. The same would be said with the previous cycles reaching their previous all-time highs. So that is my price prediction for the end of 2024. It's about $70,000 Bitcoin. Let me know if you agree in the comments down below. Also, guys, I've got all your links down below for huge trading bonuses if you want to trade Bitcoin, and many tutorials on how to trade as well. Thanks for watching. Give the video a like, share it if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, and I'll see you soon on another video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.